Yatra Narayano Devo
Narayana Devo
Narascha Bhagavan Rishihi
Narascha Bhagavan Rishi
Mridu Tivram Tapo Dhirgam
Mridu Tivram Tapo Dirgam
Depate Loka Bhavanau
Depat Loka Bhavano
Yatra Narayano Devo
Yatra Narayano Devo
Narascha Bhagavan Rishihi
Narascha Bhagavan Rishi
Mridu Tivram Tapo Dhirgam
Mridu Tivram Tapo Dirgam
Depate Loka Bhavanau
Depati Loka Bhavano
Yatra Narayano Devo
Yatra Narayano Devo
Narascha Bhagavan Rishihi
Narascha Bhagavan Rishi
Mridu Tivram Tapo Dhirgam
Mridu Tivram Tapo Dirgam
Depate Loka Bhavanau
Depati Loka Bhavano
Yatra Narayano Devo
Yatra Narayano Devo
Narascha Bhagavan Rishihi
Narascha Bhagavan Rishi
Mridu Tivram Tapo Dhirgam
Mridu Tivram Tapo Dirgam
Depate Loka Bhavanau
Depati Loka Bhavano
Yatra Narayano Devo
Yatra Narayano Devo
Narascha Bhagavan Rishihi
Narascha Bhagavan Rishi
Mridu Tivram Tapo Dhirgam
Mridu Tivram Tapo Dirgam
Depate Loka Bhavanau
Depati Loka Bhavano
Narayano Devo
Yatra Narayano Devo
Narascha Bhagavan Rishihi
Narascha Bhagavan Rishi
Mridu Tivram Tato Dhirgam
Mridu Tivram Tapo Dirgam
Depate Loka Bhavanau
Depati Loka Bhavano
Yatra Narayano Devo
Narascha Bhagavan Rishihi
Narascha Bhagavan Rishi
Mridu Tivram Tapo Dhirgam
Mridu Tivram Tapo Dirgam
Depate Loka Bhavanau
Depati Loka Bhavano
Yeah, somebody chants, can chant, but please don't change the tune. Huh? Same way you should chant. Anybody?
यत्र नारायणो देवो नरश्च भगवान् ऋषि मृदुतीव्रं तपोदीर्घं ते पाते लोकभवानौ
Yes, very good.
यत्र नारायणो देवो नरश्च भगवान् ऋषि मृदु तीव्रं तपो दीर्घं ते पाते लोकभवानौ
Hare Krishna. Yes, Manna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Yatra Narayano Devo Narashta Bhagavan Rishtihi Mriduti Varam Tapo Dirgam Tepati Loka Bhavanau
Yatra Narayano Devo Narayanaka Bhagavan Rishi Mitruti Tibram Tapo Dirgam Tepati Loka Bhavanu
यत्र नारायणो देवो नराश्च भगवान् ऋषि मृदुत्रिवं तपो दीर्घं तपाति लोकभावनौ
यत्र नारायणो देवो नरश्च भगवान् ऋषिः मृदुतीव्रं तपो दीर्घं ते पाते लोकभावनौ हरे कृष्ण प्रभुजी
Hare Krishna Prabhuji Yatra Narayano Devo Narascha Bhagavan Rishi Mridyutevam Tapo Dirgam Depati Loka Bhavano Hare Krishna Hare
Hare Krishna. Yatra, where Narayanaha, the personality of Godhead, Devaha, by incarnation, Naraha, human being, Cha, also, Bhagavan, the Lord, Rishihi, great sage, Mridu, amiable to everyone, Tivram, severe, Tapaha, penance, Dirgham, very long, Tepate, performing, Loka Bhavana, welfare of all living entities. There in Bhadrakasham, the personality Godhead and incarnation of the great sages, Narayana has been undergoing great penance since time immemorial for the welfare of all amiable living entities. There in Bhadrakasham, the personality of Godhead and in the incarnation as the sages, Nara and Narayana has been undergoing great penance since time immemorial for the welfare of all amiable living entities. Badrikashi in Himalayas, the abode of Narayana sage, is a great place of pilgrimage for the Hindus. Even up to the present, 100,000 pious Hindus go to pay respects to the incarnation of Godhead Narayana. It appears that even 5,000 years ago, this holy place was being visited by such a holy being as Uddhava. And even at that time, the place is known to be very, very old. This particular pilgrimage site is very difficult to visit for ordinary men because of its difficult situation in the Himalayas, in a place which is covered by ice almost all the year. A few months during the summer season, people can visit this place at a great personal inconvenience. There are 4 dhamas of the kingdoms of God which represent the planets of the spiritual sky, consists of Brahma Jyoti and the Vaikuntha. These are Badrikashram, Rameshwara, Jagannath Puri, and Dwaraka. Faithful in still visit all the places in for perfection of spiritual realization, following the footsteps of devotee like Uddhava. So visiting a place, Badrikashram, Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Malitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisheshaya Shunyavadi Pashad Deshatarine Jayo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. There in Badrikashram, the personality of Godhead in the incarnation of the great sages, Narayana has been undergoing great penance as time immemorial for the welfare of the all amiable living entities. Yatra Narayano Devo Narascha Bhagavan Rishihi Mriduti Vram Tapo Dirgam Te Pate Loka Bhavanam. So Krishna gives instructions, but it is also important to give example. Not only give instruction that severe tapasya is needed, he also gives a beautiful example as Narayana Rishi. It's like the very incarnation Lord Chaitanya is in the same mood. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Sarvadharman Parityaja Mam Ekam Sharanam Raja. What else can Krishna say? You take my shelter, you follow me, everything will be all right. He is the Supreme Lord. In his position as the Supreme Lord, he says, please follow me. Everything will be fine. Just like a doctor says to the patient, can you follow me? It's all will be fine. But here, Krishna, absolute personality, says in the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna, if you do not hear me, you will be lost. What is it telling? If you do not hear me, you will be lost. And Arjuna also, as a good student, says, every word, Krishna, Yadvadasi Keshava, every word I accept, Krishna, whatever you say. This is Bhagavad Gita. Every word I accept. So here, he gives an example. So, but people are not ready to follow like Arjuna followed. They do Ardhikukuti Nyaya. They take something which is convenient and they do not take something which is not convenient. They follow according to their convenience. That is following their mind. Why do you have guru then? Why do you say surrender? Surrender means I don't follow my mind. Actually, that is the time we become happy. We become relieved. Ahankara means too much we are obsessed with our own mind. What my mind is saying, what is my opinion, I think this should be the way. This is ahankara. What is it important? Your way, your mind, your ideas, your conviction. It's not important. If first thing you have to understand, you are not important. Then spiritual life starts. Otherwise, our own ahankara will choke our spiritual progress because totally obsessed with our thoughts, our convictions. I'm getting recognition, I am noticed. What is all this? You come to spiritual life or what life? And our own Leela is going on. Nonsense. It is Krishna Leela. Spiritual life is Krishna Leela. In the spiritual world, it is said when the bees come humming from the lotus feet of Krishna, then even the burst of the birds, which are the sweetest singer in the spiritual world, they stop singing because they want to hear the bee. And why? Because the bee is bringing information. Bee has an ability to go near the Krishna's lotus feet and see what's happening, and goes. Krishna is saying, because everything is full Sachidananda in the spiritual world. So even the best of the chakora and different kind of birds which can sing so sweetly, they all stop. So proper right there in the spiritual world, there is no envy at all. Because everybody is focused on what Krishna is speaking, what is Krishna's pastime. Everybody is focused there. It's so sweet, so sweet. And they all want to hear. Not I am singing sweetly, no. This bee is knowing such important information. Let me hear about Krishna. That is spiritual world. And all the flowers, all the plants, they always see the privilege of Tulsi. That she has captured the heart of Krishna. So much so, Krishna always keeps her on her lotus feet. We all want to be at Krishna's lotus feet. Every devotee means he wants to be at Krishna's lotus feet. Correct? But he's so happy. Tulsi is always at the lotus feet. She's so fortunate. So they're not envious. Spiritual world means there is no envy. That's why when Jaya Mijaya stopped the four Kumara, they're surprised. Envy here? Here envy? How can envy be there in the spiritual world? So we see in the behavior of the flowers, the birds, the plants in spiritual world, it's so beautiful. So Krishna gives instruction, you surrender. And you surrender, your all problems are over. Srila Prabhupada says you accept every word of Bhagavad Gita as transcendental, as a fact. Over. You're liberated immediately. But we cannot accept. We don't accept what Krishna says. We accept first what we say. Then where is spiritual life? If we are focused on our own head. Spiritual life starts, just leave this nonsense here. Spiritual life starts when you start thinking about Krishna and stop thinking about yourself. Bhukti mukti siddhi kami sakale ashanta Krishna bhakta nishkama kevala shanta. Why? Because bhukti mukti siddhi, all the three people are thinking about themselves. When you're thinking about yourself, where is spiritual life? Bhukti is thinking about his own sense enjoyment. So if somebody other has better sense enjoyment, he gets envious. Mukti is thinking of becoming himself, becoming liberated. Again, there is no thought about another person. Siddhi person wants some mystical power so he can make a joke with the innocent public and say, I'm God or I'm something special. Correct? Bhukti, Mukti, Siddhi, all are selfish. Kami, Prabhupada said they're all lusty. Why they are lusty? Because they're desiring some personal enjoyment. Krishna Bhakta Nishkama Kevala Shanta. Only devotee of the Lord does not have any other personal desire. Who is that? Nishkama. Who is that? Krishna Bhakta. Therefore he is Shanta. So Bhukti, Mukti, Siddhi, Kami. So they are all lusty. But Krishna Bhakta is Nishkam, Keval Shanta. Only he is Shanta. Only he can be peaceful. So changing the focus on ourselves and changing focus to the Lord is the goal of tapasya. Just like Ekadashi. A very nice principle Ekadashi achieves, because that day we forget about our eating. And the body is demanding food, 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 water, 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 this. To the degree of a capacity of austerity, we give up these things. And then what happens? The body says, I want to eat. No, you cannot eat. Because today we are going to chant Krishna's name. So the person says, oh, Krishna. Because all the time I'm thinking to gratify myself. Today you have to chant more names to gratify Krishna. That's a beautiful purpose which is achieved by Ekadashi fasting or any fasting for that matter. Not whimsical, tapo divyam. When Acharya's appearance is there, Krishna's appearance is there, and Acharya's disappearance is there, we fast that day for half a day. So in that way, when we are doing an austerity, what is happening to us? We are actually focusing. What are we doing? We are focusing that day on Krishna. When you're doing austerity, we are focusing on Krishna. And taking some personal inconvenience in the spirit, that's not very important. Because for a normal karmi man, whole day 24 hours go on, typically the way travel in the train. What happens in the travel in the train? People come to their real colors when they are free. Any person, we can show his real colors when he's free. Other time, when he's forced to do something, he will do it. Somebody is telling me, he goes for placement and he asks, what are your hobbies? To know what kind of man he is. Because hobbies is something a person does at his free time. There is no pressure, there is no fear. That's your hobbies. Correct? So similarly, in the train journey, people show their real colors. What generally people do? They sleep 24 hours. Or if they get up, they eat. Or they watch some movies. You see people doing three things only. They show their real, that's what they are. Useless bums. And that's what Kaliuga people are. Good for nothing people. That is called Shudra. Shudra means he has nothing to do. He just sleeps and eats, and that's it. He has no higher thing in life. Annamaya, lowest platform of consciousness. Shudra is not by birth, it is by this quality. And Kalau Shudra Sambhava, Kaliuga, everybody is a Shudra. That's why government office nobody works. Because they know they will not lose job, what come, what come. So they don't work. Nobody works. It's known. Private office they work, but there is a fear. Therefore they work. Otherwise they will also not work. There is a fear. Otherwise they lose the job. Therefore they work. So an animal can only move by fear. Therefore tamasic man can only move by fear. And therefore we need Kshatriya as a society. Some people sometimes they think, why do you need punishment? Why war was needed, Mahabharata? They can't get over it. Even 4th chapter, 5th, they keep asking this question. Why at all the war was needed? They don't understand that danda is sometimes needed, absolutely. There are some people who go tamoguna. Tamasic people, reason argument doesn't work. Only stick works. Suppose somebody becomes drug addict and is stealing from somebody's money for some pleasure. You need only a stick. So many people in the influence of Tamogana society, every day we see they're doing a lot of crimes. Therefore, in the Vedic time, king had to be very strong. When Maharaj Vena, father Anga disappeared because his son Vena was so sinful that he could not train him all. So he thought my spiritual life is more important. I did what I could do. I ruled over the world. Now let me take care of my spiritual life. Hare Krishna, he ran away to the forest for spiritual realization. Enough I could do. My Lord, I'm sorry. As a king, it's my duty to give a good king to the society, but I could not. And he left and went away. Now the sages saw the great king Vena has disappeared because how long? Material duties have to have a somewhere end, no? जरा वो खत्म हो जाए नॉर्थ इंडिया वैसे जरा वो खत्म हो जाए जरा वो जरा will never end. In India jara means let that finish, then I'll take up Krishna's work. Let that finish, then I'll take up Krishna's work. That will never end. Somewhere we have to make a full stop of it. Om Tat Sat we have to say. Krishna Arpadam, Om Tat Sat. Now let me begin. Everything else has to have full stop. Okay. So Jara doesn't end. So it's come to King Anga. So King disappeared, the rogues and they started plundering the society. And then the sages thought something has to be done. And they brought his son itself, was the great ruler of the king. But then he was very cruel and they had to kill him by Shrapa. And they brought, the next they brought Prithu Maharaj as the king, and everything was solved. So overall, the spirit was, every time the king Vena was killed, again there was no king, again people getting plundered. So if the king is not strong to punish the criminals, there will be no peace in the society. King has to be very strong. Other innocent people, there are tamasic people who are, or even rasic, who are waiting to exploit innocent public. There has to be a very strong king to take action at that time. Correct? There has to be a strong king. So similarly, we need to have very good administration. We can be soft, we can be kind, but sometimes we have to be very strong because such kind of people are everywhere. Now we have to be very alert, very, very alert. Any service you're developing, you have to be very alert. People are there to take advantage of innocent public and exploit their sentiments. Correct? So now comes to Badrika Ashrama, where they're doing tapasya. So that every individual has to learn. Has to be very strict and austere, because mind wants to jump around. We have to, just like before being strict to other people, we have to stick with ourselves. That's a good principle. We should be very strict with ourselves and very lenient with others. Prabhupada says we should sleep as minimum as possible. And he recommended 6 hours sleeping, but he slept only 2 hours. He is very strict with himself, very lenient with others. But we are reverse. Very lenient with ourselves and very strict with others. Why they like to follow? Nobody like to follow. So Narayana Rishi personally give an example because tapasya is most important part of spiritual life. Sri Radha Govinda ki. We see that actually the ornament of a devotee is only tapasya. There is no other ornaments devotee has. Devotee's ornament, he speaks very nicely, he looks very nice, he dresses very nicely. These things are irrelevant. Sometimes people get obsessed with these things, how they are dressing, ironing clothes again and again, even though there is no visitor to the temple. For what you are doing. Like in Mayapur now, and it's a joke. Somebody is ironing clothes. For what? Whom you want to show? There is no visitors. For service, okay. Otherwise, what's the point? They're busy with that only. So similarly, these are not ornaments of a Vaishnava necessarily. For service, okay. Otherwise, what's there? What kind of jewelry we are wearing, you're not interested. What kind of dress we are, you're not interested. They're all waste. But real ornament of a devotee is what tapasya is he doing? That should be your first ornament. Am I doing sincere tapasya? Correct? That's how people know. Suppose you go to any ashram. For what you respect the residents there? For tapasya. The real ornament of a brahmachari, where he stands out from the public, is it tapasya? Not his wealth, not his knowledge, not his shloka knowledge, not his erudite scholarship. No, these are okay, secondary. First disqualification is that if he gives up tapasya, he is totally disqualified. Because spiritual knowledge comes only when tapasya is there. Therefore, Brahma, when he was born and he wanted spiritual knowledge, the Lord indicated him, ta is tapasya. And Brahma did tapasya. 1,000 years of the Devatas, which is tremendous time, he did tremendous tapasya. That is Brahma. We cannot even imagine this level of tapasya, intense tapasya done by Brahma for spiritual awakening. So, and we are thinking there is no tapasya needed. And what tapasya needed? One Srila Prabhupada walking in the morning walks. So always I request all of you to hear Srila Prabhupada Vani. Type Prabhupada Vani. It's all there recorded, available for everybody on the net. If you also want, and you can also do this, we also have all the content, all the lectures, all the Prabhupada conversations can be uploaded, and I think we can share among all the people. So bhajans, very nice, very powerful. Do take advantage of that. So what the devotees saw Srila Prabhupada as a great tapasvi, they could not match his energy. Once what happened, that Prabhupada was there in the country, and lady reporter said that, Swamiji, you are having an easy time. You don't have to work, but you're enjoying all the comfort. You have beautiful palaces and buildings. You have all big, big cars. They're just having enjoyment, fun, without working. So Prabhupada gave two answers of that. So the reporter Prabhupada said, you cannot work like me. I'm 80-year-old. Don't think we are sleeping. I work 22 hours a day and you cannot do that. He told straight on the face. And that's a fact. That's Prabhupada used to say, when I go to sleep, I feel I'm wasting my time. Even the 2 hours, many times Prabhupada did not sleep. He was so hard working. Correct? Totally absorbed. Even when Prabhupada used to be sick sometimes, he used to always be absorbed. Did that happen? Did that happen? Did that happen? When Prabhupada was in Calcutta, he sent a devotee to purchase land in Mayapur. He was totally absorbed in the middle of it. Did they got the land? Did they get the land? And in Mayapur, when the devotees landed up, purchased the land, they'd never seen amount like that. Very, very worried. So every note they entered the number in the document, which is generally not done. They're so worried, they are getting the money, is pakka money, real money, fake money. They've not seen such money. Huge money was the proper purchase, so much property in Mayapur. And he was in Calcutta. Every minute he goes, what happened? Totally absorbed in the mission. In fact, Prabhupada used to say, don't waste a second. And Prabhupada said, I do that. I don't waste a second. 1 second is not waste. Correct? That's spiritual life. That is tapasya. That is tapasya. Tapasya just doesn't mean sitting in a forest not eating. Tapasya means actually giving up every plan of any activity which is not related. What Tapasya Brahma was doing? He was not eating. No. He was totally absorbed and searching the absolute truth and giving up all plans for any kind of personal enjoyment. That is tapasya. Tapo divyam. Tapasya should be guided. Other people like to do fancy tapasya. They get excited. Class of tapasya. You want tapasya. Yeah, tapasya is great. But do guided tapasya, not whimsical tapasya. Tapo divyam. Divyam means guided, transcendental tapasya. Nayam de bhajam niloki kashtan kaman arte vidvajami. Don't work hard, kashtan, in this human form of life, because sense enjoyment is deserved even by him. Na ayam deha. This is a very famous verse, 555. You can remember from the Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th canto, 5th chapter, where Rishivada is telling children, Na ayam deha, not in this body. Deha bhajam niloke, which you got in the human form of life. Kashtan kaman arte vidbhajami. Don't work hard for sense enjoyment, because even animals get it. What is it? Don't work hard for sense enjoyment, which even animals get it. That's so special. Prahlad Maharaj similar words, Sarvate labhate daivat. It's available everywhere, my dear father. Not to his father, sorry, to his classmates in the school. Sarvatra labhate daivat. It's all the danavas, it is available everywhere. But human life is meant for tapasya. Tapo divyam putrikayena sattvam shuddhyet. So why we have to do tapasya? Don't work life, don't dedicate your life to sense enjoyment. Sense enjoyment means bodily and mental both. Don't work hard for that. Do some tapasya. What will happen, tapodevya? Putrikayena shatvam shuddhyet. My dear sons, by tapasya, your heart will get purified. Tapodivyam putrikayena sattvam shuddhyet. When heart gets purified, Brahma Saukam Dhanantam, we will experience unlimited spiritual happiness. Correct? That's why it is spiritual life. So this is very beautifully done in Krishna consciousness by the guidance of Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada is given. So once Prabhupada is in the morning walk, please hear Prabhupada morning walks. Don't be excited at anything else. The most important thing in everybody's life, Prabhupada is the founder Acharya. But where is the relation to the founder Acharya if you don't read his books? You have no foundation itself. The foundation of ISKCON is Srila Prabhupada. So every devotee should have a habit of sitting and reading Prabhupada books. Just like you're reading from Bhagavatam. Also, you can sometimes sit down and read. Actually, ideally in the temple, both morning and evening, there should be a class. See what happened. We were totally overloaded with the course, including me. Now I'm retired. I'm not taking any classes. Totally retired. I will see how much I can bring temple programs back into focus. that people log into temple for temple programs, correct? Temple program used to tell reduce the volume of kirtan because we are getting disturbed in the class. What can be done? It's a small place, very nice place, but actually temple program is something which can be independent of the courses, level 1, level 2, whatever. It's something which is daily relish. So this should be the tapo. So tapasya is visible. Then the progress. So devotees asked Srila Prabhupada in the morning conversation. Prabhupada, actually they used to feel very free with Prabhupada. He was very, very informal with his devotees, very loving. And he used to tell them, you ask any question, feel free. Prabhupada, they're saying that in spiritual life, they take role of an atheist or a non-devotee. And it was very fun, all those conversations. Prabhupada, they say that, spiritual life is very tough. Prabhupada said, what is so tough about spirit? You have to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. Prabhupada said, early to bed, early to rise makes a person healthy, very wise. Where there is a difficulty, there is no difficulty. And the Prabhupada, then they say, is all the 4 regulate principles too much. Prabhupada, this is good for your healthy life. It's not even a spiritual life. For a gentleman life, it should be followed. Any police wala, any doctor, any court, they will tell, lawyer will tell you, go to a doctor, go to a lawyer, and go to police. 3 people. Ask them 4 regulated principles. A doctor will tell you, by following 4 regulated principles, person will have a healthy life. Intoxication spoils a life. Gambling spoils also psychiatric. Doctors are also psychiatric life. Intoxication, gambling, relation outside marriage brings so many diseases. And meat eating is not advised by doctors for any unhealthy person. They don't eat meat. Why eat it? Why eat it at all? Some foolish doctors promote meat eating, but generally they know it's a cause of various diseases. In fact, your corona has come from that only. Even AIDS came from that only. Even AIDS came from animals. These are all come from animals. They're not meant for you. These viruses are existing. These viruses are existing. And to this, they didn't get victory over AIDS. So many years they have been fighting. Or they'll get victory over corona. It's a phantasmagoria. We'll win. Okay, you can try. But this virus has many duplicates ready. It's not the best is avoid meat eating. No? The reaction is from that. Why don't you stop sinful activity? You think you'll do all sinful activity and just by vaccines you'll save yourself. Come out of that illusion. That's why Prahlad Maharaj says, my dear Narasimhadeva, people neglected by you have no protection. Unless you are recognized by the Lord, you have no protection. People in the world that's feeling today, doctors can save us. That's what Prahlad Maharaj says. My Lord, person neglected by me, you have no protection. Just like a boat in an ocean is not a protection. Famous Titanic unsinkable ship sank the first time. Just like a boat in an ocean is not a protection. Just like a doctor is not a complete protection for a patient. And just like, what is the third thing? Doctor is not protection for a patient. A boat is not protection for somebody in the ocean. And father, mother is not protection for a child completely. In the same way, if somebody neglected by the Lord has no protection. Fair enough. So doctors will not recommend 4 regulated principle breaking. Go to a policeman and ask him now. What a policeman will say, most of the crimes are done when a person is intoxicated. Most of the crimes are happening because of illicit sex. Most of the crimes are also led from gambling. Correct, quick money business that leads to gambling is not only money gambling. Any quick money business leads to so much greed. People may fight that. You're dealt with the brokers, you know how is it. When I was taking this house in Mangalore at this place, I had a broker with me. And I asked him, is this a Hindu community? All are Hindus here. I took this house and he went away. We are living in a Christian area. There's not a one Hindu house in this, maybe one house. And he put topi on me. Why did he do that? Why did he do that? Because in my one word he said, he got 2 months rent from me and that owner. He got, whatever, good amount of money. 2 months rent in 1 minute, one lie. So quick money business is actually gambling because it incites compromising the truth. Any quick money business, you easily compromise on the truth. That's gambling. Correct? You may cheat easily. Therefore, by gambling, you break the principle of truthfulness. Okay? So we know that. So lawyer knows. So what will we dealt with the doctor is over, we came to the policeman. The policeman say intoxication leads to, what is that? Leads to crime. Gambling leads to crime. Illicit leads to crime. Most of the problems, all suicide, murder, rape, all happening because illicit sex. They do not know. Even previously, they do not know that it only after marriage you can relate to the woman. It's not allowed otherwise. But people say, no, I can do something else. And then they lead to so many other kind of crimes. Illicit sex. And then what is remaining? Meat eating. Correct? Actually, it's known that when you see blood of an animal, we easily see blood of another person. When people are very militant and cruel toward animals, they also start becoming cruel toward human beings. It's just a sliding slope. And you can take international survey. The countries where meat eating is very prominent, and that includes India today. 90% Indian people in India started having meat. That is their advancement of civilization, sponsored by so-called nonsense scientists and politicians purposes. So-called modern civilization purposes sponsored by this politician and scientist, good for nothing. It is correct. They are the ones sponsoring. Means do like this, do like this, do like this. You'll be happy, and that includes meat eating. You'll be very happy and really healthy. So then, the who doesn't agree? The doctor doesn't agree. The lawyers, the policeman doesn't agree. He says these four things will not be good. Then come to lawyers. Now they are also dealing with court cases and people fighting. And actually, what it says, Kali Purusha causes quarrel, and the quarrel is happening at 4 regulated principles are broken. And so there is again quarrel. Intoxication, gambling, these are causing all the fights. Anyhow, these 4 principles are broken. People don't have happiness in the heart. They fight unnecessarily. There is no reason to fight. They still fight. Correct? And they become crazy. That's what happens. So in this same spirit here, we see things are going crazy. If the 4 agreements are broken, that's the tapasya for Kali Yuga. What is the tapasya of Kali Yuga? Don't break the 4 agreed principles. And it's not something very great. It makes you a human being. Just by you're a vegetarian, even birds are vegetarian. What's the big deal? So many animals are vegetarian. Goats are also vegetarian. Doesn't mean they're spiritually realized. For some people, even becoming vegetarian is a great achievement. Okay, maybe for you it's a great achievement. It's the simple principle for gentleman life. There's nothing spiritual about 4 agreed principles, but it needed to be gentleman. When you're offering a plate of bhoga to the Lord, the plate should be shining. So similarly, when you're chanting Krishna's name, the heart should be shining. If you follow 4 agreed principles, the heart is clean. Somebody asked Srila Prabhupada, how can you in Satsugana? How can I come to Satsugana? Prabhupada says, strictly follow 4 rules. Over, you are in Satsugana. But you compromise, thoda chalega, that is Rajoguna, and then thoda se becomes. Correct? How does the Rajoguna starts? You start being lax with the agreed principle. Little moderation. Little is okay. I'll just watch a movie trailer only. Movie nahi dekhega. I'll trailer dekhega. Okay? Start like Ajamila started. Start 1 minute, 2 minutes, and that's all. You become Tamoguna. You lose control over yourself. So, and you cannot, then what happens once the mind goes out of control, you cannot do anything purposeful, and that's true for the youth today. Today, youth, whenever I had opportunity, 2 decades, whenever it's asked themselves, the biggest problem is I cannot spend 1 day, 1 minute constructively. Whole day my mind is reeling. So why? They break all the 4 regulated principles. That's a typical youth today. They cannot do anything 5-minute thing purposeful. They have nothing to do. One assignment has to be done. It will take half an hour. They can't, 5 minutes they cannot spend on it. Why? What they are doing? Why they do last minute studies? Because mind is dragging by so many unwanted vices. So tapasya in Kali Yuga means becoming a gentleman by following the 4 regulated principles. You don't have to go to Himalayas like Nana and Rishi do tapasya. That's the principle. And we should do the Krishna. Just like you see Raghunath Das Goswami having 1 glass of buttermilk once in 2 days. Don't imitate that. It is just to be appreciated. Correct? Not to be imitated. You cannot even think of doing that. They give an example for you. Haridas Thakur chanting 190 rounds, it's an example. Don't even think of imitating that. You go to 190 rounds, I think one day you'll go mad also. You will not be able to do it. Theoretically, it is possible for anybody. Sit down in the morning, by night, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, it will be done 182. Don't imitate it. You cannot do it. You would have no taste. That's called typical Babaji life, not recommended at all for today by the Acharya. 500 years ago, there was maybe some Haridas Thakur who could do it. There was Jagannath Das Babaji, Gaurkrishna Babaji, till recent. After that, Bhaktivinoda Prabhupada never recommended any of his disciples to do Babaji life. Sometimes very attractive for some people. I'll give up my family, go to Vrindavan, sit down, I'll only chant. You should not do that. You cannot do that. Anna, you need some engagement. So have some good engagement and chant the holy name of the Lord. That's practical. True. If you're fortunate, even the engagement with Krishna's service, that's fortunate. But then I always tell full-time devotees, be very careful because you are free. You can be in worse consciousness than a man outside. A person living in a temple has an opportunity. 24 hours, just think about Krishna. And there is no existential anxiety at all. You don't have to think about money. Krishna maintains any sincere devotee. Correct? People maintain any sincere brahmachari maintained by society. Your existential anxiety is zero. Yeah, but you should 24-hour engage in Krishna service because you are free. That freedom can take to sinful activities. Idle mind is devil's workshop. Therefore, very important for a brahmachari who has a fortune to be full-time engaged, to be 24-hour engaged, not to be free. If you're free, you will do sinful activities. And then you may be within the boundary of the temple. You may be where people come to the Prabhuji and give you all respect, thinking you are doing tapasya, but your consciousness can be lower than the gutter, than even an animal. Possible. Anna? Consciousness doesn't matter by boundary inside, outside. But an opportunity was there for 24-hour tapasya and 24-hour engagement in Krishna service, which can be lost away. Anna? Then Krishna will take away the opportunity from your hand. And you will be as an ordinary karma. Because natak cannot last for long. One day it will become visible. Correct? You cannot cheat. You can cheat some people sometime, but you cannot cheat all the people all the time. And then you will not be able to stay in a temple and you go back to material world. And so there is an opportunity. Therefore, I always tell brahmacharis you should be tightly engaged, not to cut time, save time, not as much service I can do, and have a tight schedule, which is practical to be maintained, sustainable schedule every day, same schedule. Like you look at Srila Prabhupada's life, very normal. You will not find at any time Prabhupada in a hurry. You will not find Prabhupada at any time disturbed, very peaceful, but producing the highest result. That is called Sattva-guna. Sometimes we feel that we can produce more result if you are in Rajaguna. Generally, people don't even agree. Unless you are Rasik, I cannot produce a result. But Rajaguna means one step forward, 10 steps backward. Prabhupada is in a transcendental situation, but that's the platform from Sattva-guna. So he is writing, so peaceful. Every letter Prabhupada is to reply, very peaceful. No call. He never made call. He could have called any temple. No, he'll not even call. Peacefully write a letter to him and explain. And that letter can be copied and everybody can read. It's like a document. Devotees writing questions to Prabhupada. No calling. They cannot call Prabhupada. He had his way of managing himself. He's peacefully sit. Please send a message. He will look at the message and he will think about and tell his secretary. He said, give this answer to them. Pakka document. And then Prabhupada will sign it. So beautifully done. And you see, even though he's managing the huge movement, he's very peaceful. He's having court cases against the movement. Very dangerous. He's dealing with it very perfectly. Correct? Managing very perfectly. So we should learn so much from the Acharya, from his personal life. So, and ideally, what tapasya needed, Prabhupada himself gave as an example. We don't have to create a tapasya that Prabhupada did not encourage or do. Anything you do, take Prabhupada's example. He is our standard, gold standard. Correct? Everything. See the tapasya standard as Prabhupada practice, as he made the movement do it. Not create a tapasya standard which is whimsical. That's the mistake. Sometimes devotees hear about tapasya, they go so extreme that the body and mind breaks down. Correct? Tapasya has to be done to the degree of our realization. But it is true, more we are sattvic, more we can do tapasya. More we are rasik, tamsik, tapasya stops. Tamsik, there is no tapasya, only sleeping. Rajaguna, he starts, but then he stops because he's become agitated. Bhagavatam 18 chapter talk, Bhagavad Gita 18 chapter talks about it, correct? The Rasik person, he takes it up, but he leaves it because it's too difficult. Sattvic person, come what may, he will do it. Like Srila Prabhupada's movement, there was no result. Because it was tapasya done on a very advanced platform, even though there was no result, Prabhupada is very happy. I'm trying to follow the order of my Guru. To do or not to do is not a consideration. Prabhupada says for Arjuna, he has to not think about the result of the war, but fighting was his business. Win or loss was not his business. Similarly, Prabhupada was not thinking, will I be successful or not successful? If he was in Rajaguna, just give an example, he's a pure devotee of Krishna, then if there is no result, he would have stopped it long time ago. I tried, stopped it. That's Rasic. Sattvic means this work has to be done, come what may, and person get absorbed in executing the mission of his guru. He is not focused whether it's happening, whether the result is coming. That is not a attraction. Come what may, I will do this. This is Sattvic. And that's what you see Prabhupada applied himself. So here, the Badrika the Narayan Rishi are giving a beautiful example of tapasya. So please follow the example as guided by Prabhupada. Tapasya for us is strictly following 4 rules and attentively chanting a 16 round. That's the tapasya. Correct? And try to do the tapasya and keep yourself tightly engaged. As much you can do service and as much you can improve the quality of service, that much everything will be trying to. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki. Yes.
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna,
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna
साष्टांग
Prabhuji.
दंडवत प्रणाम
Hare Krishna,
One question,
Prabhuji.
namaskar.
Hare
One
Krishna,
question,
Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.